You remember the first time the internet came around and you got to play and you started surfing around and you just went back and forth to different things? And then you remember when YouTube came on and how great that was, looking at all sorts of videos. Well, we've got a guy on that I think has a fascinating thing that you all got to visit. It's called The Cheeky Truth. It's on YouTube, very easy to find. And it's one of those things, I looked at it, I got started with it, and I went through about 20 of these things. They're great. So let's bring on the genius behind this, Brendan Stonestreet. Brendan, The Cheeky Truth is such a cool idea. First of all, kind of in a nutshell, kind of explain to people what this is.
So basically, it's a street interview show where we ask males and females cheeky questions. Cheeky being like an Australian or English word, meaning like risque, like sexual type questions.
Yeah.
And our goal behind there is just to kind of get the truth on taboo type subjects.
Well, what I like about it is, so many of these things, I've seen things like this before, and they overproduce them, and there's way too much. Yours is just, it's very clean, very well done, and very honest, and that's what I like. And it's short, which actually is appealing. You can go through a number of these different things. Do you find that in Vegas it's pretty easy to get folks to kind of tell you things that they wouldn't tell anybody else, they end up telling the world?
It's the hardest thing is to actually stop the person. That once you stop the person, they'll literally tell you anything that you ask them. It's surprising what people will share with you, in the world for that matter.
Yeah, do you get a lot of people that refuse, or are most people ready to jump in?
It's kind of like a sales. It's like walking up to someone and A, stopping them, and B, like being on camera, and then B, convincing them to ask the type of questions that we ask. So the longer I've done it, the better I've got at it. But now I could pretty much ask anybody anything at the drop of a hat.
Not everybody on there is completely drunk or like an idiot. On a lot of these shows now, late night TV, they do this stuff, but yours is different. I mean, they got that nice variety, and with these type of questions, at least me as the viewer, I want to see the variety of answers.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's what we try to do. And I also try to keep it clean and professional because it is kind of taboo. It is kind of out there. And you want to keep a professional name because I do want to do other things down the track. And I don't want this jeopardizing my name or my reputation.
Yeah, I like that because what I liked was, kind of looking at some of the questions, like, oh, there's going to be a lot of really dirty language. And there really isn't. I mean, you're talking, it's that clever way. It's like the way Seinfeld used to do it, where you can talk about something without getting vulgar, yet everybody knows what you're talking about, and it's kind of like a forbidden fun.
Because realistically, everybody around the world does what we're talking about, but no one really talks about it. Nobody really talks about it honestly either.
Well, what's fun about it, I learned something very sad about, there's a couple of questions you have out there, just different things where they're just kind of general knowledge questions. And the sad part is one of the things I learned out is almost everybody knew the average penis size across the world, but they don't know how many stripes there are on the flag. Very, very disappointing.
Yeah, what the Civil War is fought over. Yeah, it's pretty shocking.
It really is. But the fun, well, they're all fun because I suggest doing some of the taboo ones first, and then you go back and forth, and it really is fun. But I saw you do one of them, like we talked about that. Does size matter? And what's interesting is you really get this thing. Everybody laughs and so forth, but it's something obviously, to me anyway, everybody's thought of.
Yeah, absolutely. And like, when have you ever read a magazine or seen an article where it says like size matters? It's always nice the way you use it, it's the motion of the ocean, but I know for a fact that after 100 interviews asking that same question, it matters 100% to most females.
Well, yeah, part of the problem is if life hasn't worked out for you that way, this hurts a little bit, you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. I've never felt so self-conscious in my life after doing the show.
Well, the other thing that's funny is a big conversation, seriously, in culture is should somebody be circumcised or not and so forth. And the interesting part was, and again, kind of scary, you find out that it really does matter to women. I think every single answer you had, it did matter. The only times it was different is when they didn't really understand exactly what you were asking.
Yeah, they get confused. Yeah, that's actually my most popular question, and we've done maybe 5 or 6 part series on that. And I've got a lot of guys up in arms from around the world who are really upset by these American girls' answers.
The truth hurts sometimes. I mean, it just is the truth. Whether it's right or wrong isn't what you're addressing. This is just how people really think.
The truth, yeah. And I've actually got guys commenting saying that they're in their 30s and they're considering getting circumcised after watching my show. which I'm
Really?
not sure if it's a good thing or a bad thing, like, but it just shows like the power of influence.
Another thing I love about the shows, I saw something like this a couple of decades ago when HBO had this thing called Taxi Confessions, and everybody seemed to like it.
Yeah.
I like this better because this is something, it's almost like a fun little game, perfect for the phone, right? Because you can do 5 minutes, you end up, you think you're going to look at one or two, you end up spending a half hour of this stuff because it's just so interesting.
And like you said, it's short and sweet, so you end up kind of binge watching.
Well, when you were determining how to put this together, and I thought about that, I wanted to ask you, did you kind of think in the 21st century, and I think there's no question in our society now, people want it short and fast. I mean, they've made jokes about that where the best show is like 5 minutes and so forth. But was that part of your thought process too, is that I got to keep this thing concise?
Yeah, it's been a learning curve, and the more I shoot it, the more I've refined it and made it watchable. And like as you've seen, like the first 5 seconds, I put like the best part of the episode in there as a teaser, just to try to catch your attention. So whether it being the cheekiest answer, the most outrageous answer, and then I put that as a teaser, and then I kind of cut back to the whole show. But I'm just trying to work out the right length right now, because no matter how long the show is, we get about 50% retention, whether that be in a 2-minute or a 12-minute episode. We get about 50% retention.
Well, it's fun, and you do some of these interviews, and there's other people out there, and it just seems like everybody's having a good time too, which makes it relaxing to the viewer. There's just that kind of fun feel where you feel like you're a part of it.
Yeah, absolutely. And the funny thing is, like, I thought people would maybe look down at me for doing this, or like people I respect or people I look up to. And the higher the person I look up to, the more they're actually behind the channel and supporting what I do, which is really nice to know that people aren't. Everybody likes it. Everybody likes it.
Cheeky is probably the best way to describe it because the actual product fits the title.
Yeah, and that's really if you have to describe my personality, I've got like a cheeky Australian personality.
Yeah.
And it just ties in really well together.
You say Australian, and you got that nice Australian accent. Do you find when you go out and talk to people because I know people just they're drawn to that accent.
Yeah, it's for some reason Americans love Australian accents, especially the females. Kind of like, yeah, every single day I probably get a comment on my accent. It's really nice. I like being unique.
Well, I think people are going to love it. It's called The Cheeky Truth. I know you've got some plans for the future, though, as well. You want to take it beyond Las Vegas at some point, right, and start going to different places. How do you see this like in your mind, as you start being the visionary? Where would you like to see this in 5 or 10 years?
To start off with, I'd like to travel the world because, kind of like you said, different people got different answers from different countries on certain subjects. So I'd love to shoot it from back home in Australia. I'd love to be in London. I'd love to be actually shooting the show, being overseas and walking up to an English girl or Australian girl. But then eventually I would actually like to have my own hosts in different countries, all fitting back under the Cheeky Truth brand or umbrella.
I like it.
We posted 5 times a week. We had an Australian episode, we had an English episode, we had an American episode. The potential's huge.
I think it is too, and I think you were smart coming to a place like Vegas where there's so many different cultures there. There's a certain freedom. I think it must.
It's a melting pot, yeah.
Yeah, and it must be good because when people come there, it goes back to that old advertising thing of what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. People this is a place they feel comfortable to kind of let loose, which is perfect for what you're trying to do.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's the only place in the world where you get so many people from so many different countries, different nationalities, different religions, different race, with a whole bunch of different answers on this stuff. And then they take the link or the video back to them, back to Germany, back to Japan, back to Australia, and they share it with their friends and family back home. So it also allows us to get out there a lot more than, say, another channel would.
Well, that's a lot of fun. One more thing before you go, and we're going to tell people how to make sure they find it, although it's easy. It's Cheeky Truth. You go on YouTube. It's that simple. But I do want to ask you, you've also got a company called Cheeky Showgirl, and you do have showgirls in this thing as well. What's this all about? Explain what that is, and what do you do with that company?
So I actually make showgirl costumes. So I actually make showgirl costumes, and I have girls, all the pretty girls you see in the Las Vegas Strip. We take the photos of the tourists.
Yeah.
So I make the costumes. We have girls working for us. And then we're incorporating the showgirls into the show. Eventually we're looking to have a showgirl host because I think that's very iconic. I think that would be very good you get a Vegas street interview show with a showgirl host running the show. I feel like that would be just really cool.
Yeah, it is. Well, and that's like former Mayor Oscar Goodman used to always have, or still does, I guess, whenever he makes an appearance, always has showgirls with him. And,
Yeah, absolutely.
It's iconic with Las Vegas.
And this show's going to be very big eventually, so if it gets millions of views, which I know it will, and the showgirl's a host, it gets the costumes out there, it gets the company out there, it's brand awareness. It just fits in well together.
Absolutely, and it's a lot of fun. Folks, you got to see it. It's called The Cheeky Truth. It's as simple as going to YouTube. Right? How many videos do you have on there right now, Brendan?
We're up to about 160 in about 6 months, so yeah, we've been working pretty hard.
Well, that's great. You keep making them because people are going to want more. They're going to go through them all, and they're going to say, well, we need some more. So,
and people are requesting certain questions now. People give me ideas, and some of the ideas are really good. So that's exciting.
Have you had any come in where you say, like, interesting, but it's a little beyond cheeky? Have you had any of that stuff?
If you're shorter than a girl, basically, it doesn't matter what you've got going for you. You haven't got a chance.
Yeah, that's as a shorter person, I got to tell you that's a depressing thing. I can say it's true.
Bad. If you're good looking and money and you drive a Ferrari, but you're shorter than a girl, you're still not going to get her.
One of those undisputable truths that just kind of hurt.
Yeah, I'm so glad I'm tall and.
Very good. Well, yeah, right. That you got an advantage going in. Brendan, thanks so much. We'll talk to you again. We love the cheeky truth. So thank you.
Thank you so much.